What it mean to be the best? Riding foes, feeling unimpressed. Make me reminisce, throwing bows, bend the corner, set my mind up on the goal. All I know is stay down, bad, I'm the GOAT. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. I ain't gotta say much. Know the boy got a touch. Another win for the rush. Another win for the rush. See me once and got a crush. See you twice and that's enough. Get the ring sized up.
Hello. Welcome in to Tell the Truth. We are back, baby. The Chiefs are getting closer and closer to the 2025 NFL draft. The Chiefs have added 2 new players and one old friend back to the team as well to round out their roster as they get ready for what will be an interesting draft and which hopefully they'll be in position to take best player available, of course. It's a little bit of a slow period in the NFL, off season as teams start to finalize their grades, have their boards together and figuring out who they want to end up targeting as far as the draft is concerned. Of course, we got some positional rankings done by yours truly, CJ, that we'll get to a little bit later on as far as the results of the first Kingdom Cast Twitter mock draft as well. And they'll also be giving our first round grades and talking a little bit about top 30 visits too. So DG, CJ, how you guys doing, man?
Man, I'm just ready for this draft.
Mock this, mock that. Lakers.
Yeah, I can't look at another mock or do another mock. At this point, I'm mocked out. So hopefully this draft gets here soon, so we can go ahead and see who's gonna be the next Chief. But yeah, glad to have Mikey back in the city.
Mikey back.
Obviously seems like he's happy to be back here as well too. It's obviously a good fit. I think for him, I don't think he ever should have really left, in my opinion. But I understand it. Business is business, and you gotta go where the money is sometimes. So.
Nah, man.
But glad to have him back. I think it helps the Chiefs as far as the depth in that safety room, gives them a veteran guy. Obviously, with the loss of Justin Reed not being back there, so gives them a guy I feel like that's a playmaker as well too. Gives them a little bit of ball skills back there as well. So glad to have him back. Ready to see him thrive again under these Spags. Should get a full complement of snaps while he's here. I'm going to assume, that 3 safety rotation that this Spags likes.
Always good to have a veteran in the building for sure.
Right.
Well, it's interesting. So as far as that 3 safety rotation is concerned, I mean, where do you guys think that he slots in? Obviously, we have Jaden Hicks, assuming to take over a starting safety role. And we assume, obviously, that Brian Cook will hold on to his safety role, as the starter there. The wild card, I suppose, would be Shamari Connor, who obviously played a lot as far as the slot nickel position was concerned. Does he move back into a traditional safety role and be that third safety? How do you guys feel like the snaps maybe work out as far as that room is concerned, especially early on, as we know Justin Reed has departed from a leadership standpoint?
I think it's a split between probably him and Mike Edwards and Connor. As far as who's going to be that third safety, I think Spags trusts both guys. I do like Mike Edwards for his ability of, like I said, with those ball skills and being able to create turnovers, things of that nature. So I would like to see him a little bit more. I think you probably see Shamari a little bit more in that nickel star position, kind of in the box at points and times too. I think that's more of his role. So we'll see. I mean, Spags always got creative things underneath his belt, so I'm pretty sure he'll have no trouble trying to figure out who's going to come there.
I'm sure it'll be a week by week basis, like we always know with the DB room. Everybody's going to play, so definitely a matchup based scenario. Yeah, I think this room is at its best when they have 4 safeties, because then you can kind of, like DG said, base it off matchups. So obviously Mike is more of a ball hawking safety. So obviously if we're playing a quarterback that likes to turn the ball over, take more chances, you'll probably see him and more Brian Cook at the 2 high safety look. And then if we're playing teams that have more speedy receivers that like probably run the ball fits and get more physical downhill, then you'll probably see more Tremari and Jaden's given their athleticism and their speed to go close the gap and get in the box and make plays. So I like the fact that we have 4 safety because now we can kind of base it off who we're going against. Bigger tight ends, bigger slot receivers, pass heavy teams, run heavy teams. We have that flexibility to base off the matchup. So I like the fact we brought Mike back. Love his veteran leadership. Love his playmaking when the ball's in the air. He's a guy that can go out there and get turnovers for us. I think him, Brian Cook, and Jaden, it kind of takes the pressure off everyone, makes everyone's job that much easier. So love him back in the building. I know he didn't want to leave in the first place. Definitely understand money wasn't here at the time, but I think bringing a guy back like that, Spags, he fit in seamlessly when he first got here a couple years ago. So that's not really going to be a transition for him as far as learning the defense. So obviously all 4 guys you trust in big moments. Obviously, Jaden Hicks is going to get better and better. He's going to be even more explosive in his sophomore year. And we know iron sharpens iron. Everybody wants to play, and everybody wants to be the reason that we make plays on defense. So I know nobody preaches that more than guys like Coach Merritt and Spags. So having a guy like Mike Edwards back there who's been in multiple Super Bowls, won one with us, there's not a better guy you can ask for in that moment. So I'm definitely excited for him for sure.
All right, for you, as far as that's concerned, I mean, I think that obviously we see Mike Edwards brings a little bit of a different skill set to the table than we've seen maybe for the rest of the the Cardinals just won after he beat up on Paul Skeens. The Mike Edwards brings a little bit of a different free safety aspect to the room, which I think is important given, the rest of the room doesn't necessarily have that right now. But you look at kind of what the room looks like, I think still he's more of a veteran 4th guy and a kind of a voice in the room necessarily more so than a guy that would be featured as far as the snap count. But again, that's good insurance to have as far as this roster is concerned. And we kind of talked about on a previous show as far as the defensive, kind of depth chart was concerned. Where was that option that you can add a little bit of veteran presence to the standpoint? I think that obviously safety was one of those places we talked about. And I think it makes sense that now Mike Edwards just, slotted into that 4th safety role at the very least. And now you can say that that's a room that is fully covered as far as that's concerned before you get into what the draft may end up looking like. So along those lines, obviously, as we talk about getting into the draft and the Chiefs being able to target some of these prospects, the Chiefs are in the process of bringing some of these guys in for some top 30 visits. And currently we've seen a few interesting prospects as far as that is concerned. And what they kind of look like and what they may be able to add to this Chiefs team. Some guys with some interesting skill sets as well. And I'll just be able to put this list up on the screen. Shout out to Haley Lewis from Bleacher Report. Was able to put this together as far as the current visits that have been reported as well. And there you go. Finally was there. And you'll obviously notice that there is a heavy emphasis as far as the offensive line is concerned. They're looking at the offensive tackle position. Anthony Belton, Dalton Cooper, Caleb Etienne, Ariante Ersay, Garrett Christian Linkdenhan, and Bozi Vavu Esapol, Bryce Calabu from Kansas, who was the guy that was opposite of Logan Brown. Isaiah Bond, Harold Fannin Jr., who's been talked about a lot as far as the tight end position is concerned. The DG was doing that to Isaiah Bond. Damian Martinez, the more underrated backs as far as this class is concerned. Jackery Crosby Merritt out of Arizona, also an underrated option. Aiden Hutchinson out of Tulane, who wanted to make sure that I had his weight right when he was reportedly coming in for a top 30 visit. Really interesting guy for Tulane that played the defensive end the way that Spags would like to. He's 6 foot, but he's 285. He's got a lot of power. He played a versatile role for underrated Tulane defense last year. So Aiden Hutchinson is somebody to watch for. He also played at UL Monroe in 2023. Philip Beatty out of Auburn, Brandon George out of Pittsburgh, and Melvin Smith Jr. out of Southern Arkansas, who is the prototype for a Dave Merritt corner along those lines. And so I point out this group. I'll ask you guys, A, just, who maybe stands out from the standpoint. But B, because there's always some diamonds in the rough as far as this is concerned. And we'll talk about kind of the top 30 visit history as it pertains to the Chiefs. Along those lines, I mean, I think Ursary makes a lot of sense for this team in the second round. I think as a poll, as you get into, the later rounds for Washington State, I like what he brings to the table. And like I said, I really do like Damian Martinez and Melvin Smith Jr., Aiden Hutchinson, could make a lot of sense as far as day 3 options. So anybody stand out to you guys as far as this list is concerned?
I think Harold Finn is the biggest smokescreen ever. I mean, I'm gonna give him his respect, give him his credit due. Like we said, MAC Player of the Year last year. Obviously, me being a former tight end, I love everything he did in college. He's very similar build to me, so he's more of like an H-back move type of tight end, kind of like that role that Noah Gray does for us already. So obviously, the prototypical tight end for most Andy Reid offenses are guys that are 6'5", 6'6", and up, and you have those prototype of guys like Jared Wiley and Travis Kelce. So I love the fact they brought him in for a visit, because I love the fact that they're opening their minds of how they could use him, and I'm sure he could be very effective in our offense, but I think he would never actually be a high impact player in the Chiefs offense based off the way we like to throw the ball down the field and get guys involved, especially we have so many guys that can run after the catch right now. Harold Finn's career would mainly be a lot of run after catch, and I think we kind of have those guys based off the roster right now. And based off the other guys, nobody really else on the list. I like Brandon George. He's a day 2, day 3 guy for me. Nothing crazy that you saw on tape, but if they decide to bring him in for a late visit, I'm not mad at it. But yeah, outside that, nothing really stood out to me, at least for the position that I had to look at for sure.
Yeah, I would probably say the only guy that really that I'd be intrigued in them bringing in would be Damian Martinez, just to kind of fill that spot. Also love the story of am I saying this right? Erase, how you say it? Ursa? Yeah, Ariante. Yeah. Obviously, big emphasis at the tackle position, or the offensive line position for sure. So it kind of tells you, I think, where they might be headed towards in the second round, for sure. But nothing really tremendously stands out to me. I know the Chiefs are typical for bringing people in and then not drafting them
exactly.
at all.
Exactly.
So,
but I am. Oh, go ahead. Finish what you were gonna say.
Nah, you good. Go ahead. That's about all I can say.
No, I was gonna say. So I think it's interesting to try and figure out why exactly they bring some of these guys in. Maybe some movement skills as far as Isaiah Bond. Ursary is somebody that they talked to as far as the Senior Bowl is concerned. So get another look at him. Belton, again, trying to get another, conversation with some of these guys. I think that may have some validity just to pay attention to from that standpoint as well. I do like the type of prospects that they're going after outside of Harold Finn Jr. maybe specifically, but I think Damian Martinez is somebody targeting that would make a lot of sense for them, more so into the 3rd and 4th round than certainly in the 2nd round. And as far as Ursary, if you can get him in the 2nd round, it makes a lot of sense too. But obviously you mentioned, as far as the Chiefs' history with taking some of these players and not necessarily taking some of these players.
But nobody on the list had a 1st-round grade, like none of them. So
no, nobody on this list had a
all
1st-round
smoke screens, fellas.
But I did want to pull up, kind of the previous draft history, just so we can, have an understanding of kind of what will happen. So this is as far as 2022 is concerned, and being able to look at, if any of these guys pop as far as the Chiefs targets. And you'll find a common theme here before I reveal the list, is that you can find some 1 or 2 guys that either they do take in the draft, they try and grab his UDFAs, or they end up getting down the line as well. And so from 2022, this is the list, and you obviously see Mr. Joshua Williams out of Fayetteville State, who ended up being a day 3 DB pick ultimately for the Kansas City Chiefs. And obviously one of the bigger names that I'm sure got a lot of pub at the time was George Pickens. And everybody was reacting to that a certain way. And there was a lot of talk as far as how that interview might have gone and what that might have meant for the Chiefs to end up drafting him. And then you go to as far as kind of the 2023 season was concerned and what that might have looked like. Almost picked the wrong one. There we go. And, who the Chiefs are bringing in then. You look at this list. Pull it up right here. And this one headlined by Rashid Rice, who was somebody that when I brought them in, I was encouraged by the fact that they brought him in, because I thought that Rashid would make a lot of sense for a wide receiver target. And that wide receiver room needed a lot of help as far as I was concerned, coming off of that 22 season where Mahomes really carried them as far as that wide receiver room is concerned. Obviously, the Chiefs would go on to draft Rashee Rice, and he would make a massive impact for the 2023 team. Quentin Johnston was, of course, also on that list. Did not end up having a chance to get taken by the Chiefs. Khalif Halesi ended up being brought in to the Chiefs for training camp. Did not end up making the team. Keanu Benton was somebody who I thought would make a lot of sense for the Chiefs. Darnell Wright, of course, went top 10, was never really an option for the Chiefs. And then the other guy was BJ Thompson, who, of course, is in the middle of his own process of hopefully trying to get back and get ready for a training camp set, but was a 5th-round pick of the Chiefs in that 2023 NFL draft as well. So, just a few guys you could take a look at that they may be, keeping their eye on and wondering if they want to end up bringing them in. Broderick Jones obviously was also a tackle prospect, and Will McDonald also went in the 1st round too. So, those guys didn't have a chance to end up coming to Kansas City. And Anthony Bradford was somebody that was coming off a major injury, and I'm sure that they were trying to use that to get a little bit of a read as far as he was concerned from that as well. And then let me pull up the list from last year so we can take a look at who ends up popping from the 2024 top 30 prospects, top 30 visits for the Kansas City Chiefs as well. And the Chiefs do use these visits maybe more than some other teams maybe do because they like to gather their scouting notebooks as far as that's concerned. Obviously, a few of these guys bounce around. Contras Stigers got a lot of talk last year as a possible option. Christian Mahogany, also a guy coming off a major injury to do a little bit of work on. I will save these other 2 guys right here. Ben Sinnott, obviously local guy that they got to look at. I wonder if Ben also came to their local pro day, or if he didn't, and they had to bring him in for a visit too. Christian Boyd, Michael Hall Jr. But obviously 2 headliners. One, Mr. Kingsley Suamataia, who they ended up bringing in on top 30 visit and then taking in the 2nd round after a very small trade up, and Carson Steele, who they brought in as a UDFA out of UCLA too. So again, maybe it ends up being a needle in the haystack, but it is worth mentioning that of the last 3 top 30 visits, the Chiefs ended up taking at least one of those guys in the draft class. Obviously, more so day 3 guys. 2 of those were, as far as the possibility of getting multiple too. So that's something to keep in mind, that a few guys off of this current top 30 visits list may end up being Chiefs later on in April, as far as that is concerned. Anything else as far as those top 30 visits? Obviously, we don't anticipate seeing any of them as we continue on, but we'll see if any of the other ones come across as well. And those get used for understanding the injury aspect of it, or understanding, what the player's movement is like in person as well. So as far as that's concerned, we'll continue to see what the Chiefs end up bringing in. And we also had their local pro day, in which they had a whole manner of kind of local prospects get worked out. That just helps them get a look at it. DJ Giddens and Devin Neal, I believe, were both there. As far as that local pro day was concerned, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Both local, obviously, running back prospects. Yep, they both were there. Oh, the Chiefs did a nice little list. I appreciate that. Oh, wow, this is a long list. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of that. But as you imagine, a lot of K-State, a lot of Kansas, a lot of Missouri being represented. A few kind of guys here and there, like Dante Manning from Oregon, a little bit off the beaten path. Got a few Central Missouri players also moved.
You see him, baby?
Yes, Missouri Western State as well, Northwest Missouri State. Some guys, and of course Fort Hays as well. Some guys that we've seen the Chiefs pull some talent from, in years past. Graham Mertz, the quarterback out of Florida, also made the list. And Kenya Mosley from Miami, Ohio, also made the list. Of course, Nate Noel, Devin Neal, Jacob Parrish, just to name a few of these guys as well. So obviously, Chiefs have their eyes on a few of these local guys: Mello Dotson, of course, Brady Cook, Marcus Cale, the local guys, Logan Brown, etc. So, be interesting to see if they end up pulling some guys from this local pro day too. And again, just another tool for the Chiefs to be able to use to grab some guys and be able to bring them in along the process. So, moving on, we're going to go ahead and kind of talk about some first round grades. Does anybody want to volunteer their list to go first as far as the first round grades are concerned?
I think our list is probably all going to be the same.
Damn near.
For the most part.
I mean, we could just I'll start since I didn't go last week. I will start off with my tight end group. It's pretty much well known. There's mainly two guys that are going to be drafted day one. The guys we all know that are very dominant this year. Tyler Warren, obviously tight end out of Penn State. Very traditional, old school type of tight end compared to Rob Gronkowski, a lot George Kittle type of player. Very, very good blocker. Definitely runs through contact. Not necessarily like the fastest guy. Doesn't really have an amazing wiggle as far as like DG would say loose hips as far as run after the catch, but catching the ball, being explosive down the field, putting somebody in the dirt as far as run game as well, catching the ball, blocking the ball. And he's a guy that's very versatile because he played quarterback in high school. So there was a lot of wildcat with him. Very explosive, very versatile type of player. Whichever team's getting him, he'll definitely be like a number one option. I could see him having like a Brock Bowers type of rookie year if he gets that much volume just because he can do so many different things. He can end up having like 10 touchdowns a year just based off his versatility in the red zone for sure, whether it be throwing or catching or running the football. And then the number 2 tight end on the board for me is Mr. Colston Loveland out of Michigan, Jim Harbaugh's baby son. I expect the Chargers to take a heavy look at him. If not him, possibly the Packers. We'll see. But no, this is probably my personal tight end one in the class. Very explosive, extremely good wiggle. He is very comparable to Travis Kelce, in my opinion, because right after the catch is amazing. 6'6", fluid hips, gets in and out of his breaks very well. High catch radius. Little bit of a scarcity as far as catching the ball over the middle of the field at times. But as far as like having everything you want in today's tight end, as far as the passing game, he fits that to a T for me. So right after the catch, great hands, explosiveness, knows how to sit in windows between man or zone. So Colston Loveland is my tight end one in my class per se, personally. Those are the only 2 round 1 grades for those guys. After that, we start getting into the Chiefs range of tight ends. We start getting into the Terrence Fergusons, to the Mason Taylors of the world. Those guys are on my tier 2 of tight ends. I would be very happy if either one of those guys was in a Chiefs uniform next year. I think most of us have seen our mocks. You've seen me and DG and DMac predict if we do happen to take a tight end, it will be one of those 2 guys. Elijah Arroyo is another option for us as well out of Miami. But those are probably like my tier 2 guys. They're all solid as far as pass catchers. Nothing crazy athletically. None of them are like crazy explosive. But as far as like being dependable, they can be a starting tight end or be a tight end 2 or 3, given your offense. I think those guys could come in and start and play minutes for you right away for sure. And then we start looking into the tier 3 guys like the Gunnar Helms.
Well, CJ was like, I'm just going to give my tight end rankings. Damn the rundown.
I was just going one by one, all my positions. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say we could just
overall first round.
We were doing every position, just the first round grade.
I ain't got nothing.
Not
go
just,
ahead. I got you.
So I'll give my list real quick, and then we'll get to CJ's positional rankings. I mean, it is kind of just the guys that we know: Travis Hunter, the Abdul Carters, Mason Graham, Will Campbell, Ted McMillan, Luther Burden, Ibuka, Mimbow. Obviously, both of the tight ends that CJ named, because Warren and Loveland are certainly worth it. What'd you say? You didn't have Ibuka? Yeah, I know he's a tough.
You ain't got to make that first round.
I'll name these guys, and you say, yeah, this would be a better way to do it. I'll name these guys, and you tell me when you have a disagreement necessarily. So Will Johnson, Malachi Starks, who I think we both don't have any disagreement on. Do you have Josh Sims with a first round grade? I don't know the medicals, but as far as his tape is concerned, I do.
Yes, but medicals, yeah.
Derek Harmon and Walter Nolan, I both have a first round grade on both of those guys.
Yep.
James Pierce Jr., I think that's probably a controversial one.
A bit debatable.
That's definitely going to be an edge guy. Kelvin Banks Jr., obviously a tackle out of Tennessee. I think he was become a little bit underrated or maybe just under talked about as far as the process. And then the last 2 guys, so the last guy I'll say Jihad Campbell out of Alabama. Just an awesome guy to linebacker position that DG and CJ do not agree with. Okay, great.
I like Jihad. Crazy athlete, but day one. Ugh.
So DG, we'll start with Emeka Ibuka. So I understand why Ibuka is a little bit maybe not first round quality, because you talk about a wide receiver being a first round grade and him not being that dominant level. I think that when you talk about what a wide receiver you're trying to bring in, a guy that I know that on a consistent basis is going to beat man coverage and get open and understand and do everything that a wide receiver needs to be able to do, that is a safe first round grade that I can take at wide receiver and add to my offense and feel great about, in my opinion. So that's the way I kind of look at it. Now, would I take him top 10? No, because I don't think he's that level of prospect. But I do think that he is worthy of the first round grade from that standpoint.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I just think that for me, like I was thinking of guys that would probably, I was kind of treating it like the NBA draft lottery, or like the guys that I think they would go in the top 20 or something, or sneak into the the top 20. I just don't see it.
So for context, I have 23 first round grades, and I left 3 of those guys off. So there's 3 guys I did not name, but they're 20 players I did. But keep going, DG, because I completely agree with you as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I just didn't see him as a top 20 guy, in my opinion. I still could see him going first round, obviously, because there's 32 picks. But
Top 20, I
think,
feel you on that part. I feel you.
Yeah, once you get past 20, really 15, if we're being honest,
it's dicey.
You're starting.
That's how this draft is kind of viewed, is that after you get after that top 12 or 15 prospects, that you start getting a lot as far as from 15 or 16 through 50, as far as some people have been able to put it. It's really about the fit as far as that's concerned. So you guys good with Ted McMillan, Luther Burden, in disagreement as far as either one of those guys are concerned? Because obviously Luther is somebody that has fallen down boards and has some question marks as far as that is concerned. I haven't moved off of him. Like
I haven't, but I know that other teams,
the masses.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
The masses
He's still my wide receiver 1. So.
Yes. Who is it? So Josh Simmons. Is it a talent thing? Is it an experience thing? Because obviously we saw him play early in the season, not against great competition, and dominate. His 2023 film, in my opinion, was still borderline first round grade worthy. So the adjustments that I saw from 2023 to 2024 make me feel like I'm comfortable with it. But as far as you're concerned, obviously, and this is the wild card is the medicals, which obviously I don't have, so it's difficult to go off of. But Patella is a concern as well.
Yeah,
I watched his tape from last year and this year. Very solid starter. Could come in day 1 if he's available. He could play. He has all pro potential. He has the body, he has the arm size, has the length, good foot speed. Is just the medicals. If he clears, I'm with it. But I'm just not the proponent of taking injury risk with that type of position, given our history and how very few left tackles there are in the NFL. This is probably one of the few chances we have to find a legit one. I would not like to take a chance with a guy with a knee injury history personally. Not to say he's not worth it. It's just I just don't want to take that chance. That's just me. I'd rather be on the safe side.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I love the talent. Love the talent, but at the same time, I'm not in the business of taking a risk on a guy that basically blew his knee out, and then in a position where I feel like that's a tough injury to try to come back from and play, in a short span of time, turn around and play, especially at the highest level of football that you can play at. So I do think that if there is a team that can, stash him for a year and allow him to rehab and to, get back into development and stuff like that, that he'll turn out to be a pretty good piece for somebody. But at this point in time, I don't think the Chiefs are really in that business. They need somebody they can get out there day 1.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I think that so I made this tweet earlier today was that, if Josh Simmons gets to the Chiefs at 31, it feels like it's one of 2 things. Either one, the medicals are such that push him down the board, and ultimately it comes down to the Chiefs going to feel comfortable with that, which is going to be a question mark. Or 2, the position that the non-quarterback position that is the most scarce as far as the National Football League is concerned, that you can never find in free agency and ends up getting pushed down the board because it's not necessarily the best tackle class. When you're talking about obviously Kevin Bates Jr. or Will Campbell, who some people say needs to kick out inside the guard, but I assume will be given a chance to tackle as well. And those are kind of the 2 guys, and Amron Benbu, who obviously was a right tackle for Mizzou. Is he going to be able to flip over to the left side? Those are question marks as far as that's concerned. So it's interesting to see, do people think it's undervalued? Because obviously we've seen, I believe it was Field Yates who had us taking Josh Simmons. I've seen Dane Brugler say that on Mina Kimes' show that Josh Simmons makes a lot of sense for us. Are teams passing on him because of the medicals or because of the position right now? I can't see really the position being undervalued and the talent from that standpoint. So it's going to be a question mark. And then ultimately, do the Chiefs take that risk? Like you said, CJ, are they willing to take that swing? But also in the same way in which obviously the Chiefs have to take that risk. And we talk about normal first round grades in a given class. You're not going to have 32 first round grades, even though they're 32 picks. Are the Chiefs willing to take a swing at a position that they know they're never going to be able to draft because they keep picking late, as far as left tackle is concerned, and say that this guy's worth it? And I can see it from that standpoint. It's going to come down to the medicals as well. Did you guys shake your head? You guys were good with Derek Harmon and Walton Nolan?
That'll be good.
James Pierce Jr., when you have the athleticism and explosiveness that he had, and then I actually saw him produced on tape, because you talk in one of these guys that I just didn't like, Shamar Stewart didn't make my list. You have to produce. You just didn't. I'm sorry. For me to have your true first round grade, you just do. Nick Scored didn't make my list. He didn't. A guy like Mike Green, I understand. Obviously, he did produce. It was at a smaller school, but you're talking about the athlete that translates to the NFL level. And because of what the tape looked like, I'm willing to say, okay, I can see where you can come in at from that standpoint. And that's a little bit of difference from that aspect. James Pierce Jr. is somebody who I saw produce, did it against really good tackle, kind of competition as far as I'm concerned in the SEC. And so I feel convicted as far as that's concerned. You said Jihad Campbell. What was your issues as far as Jihad Campbell was concerned? I'm interested.
I don't think any true off-ball linebacker is going first in the first round in this draft. I just think the class is kind of, it's not too deep, and it's not very. I don't think it's very good, to be honest. I think you got some guys in there that can step in and play immediately, like Jihad Campbell or Jalen Walker or somebody like that from Georgia. But I think that you can kind of wait on those guys until day two, as far as where this defensive line class is really going to fall for real, in my opinion. I think that's where you're probably going to see most of your defensive player, defensive line and
linebackers for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hey, if you want to spend a first round pick on him, be my guest.
Go ahead and put.
I will say he is going to get taken in the first round. Yeah. I think when you look at what he brings to the table, and some people were like, "Oh, is he going to be a little bit more of an edge rusher?" He has the ability to rush the passer and be a blitzer, but I feel like he does have what it takes to be a true Mike linebacker. And I feel like when you're talking about the athleticism that he brings to the table, I feel comfortable taking that in the first round. Now, again, top 10, I wouldn't say that necessarily. I would say outside the top 10. But again, I think that similar to Ashton Genty at the running back position, if you are that level, then I'm willing to say at a devalued position that I'm willing to go there. I didn't personally have Omarion Hampton. Do you guys have Omarion Hampton as a first round graded player? I think Omarion Hampton is spectacular, but he's not the special level that I would have as first round.
He's on the same tier for me as Genty.
I
love Genty. I think he had an amazing season, but Omarion just as good as him to me, in my opinion. So if Genty gets a first round grade for me, I have to give Omarion a first round grade. I think Omarion's a better pass catcher of the two personally, but yeah, I give him. I don't think Omarion gets drafted first round, but I gave him a first round grade personally.
Genty was the only back that I had that had a first round grade on him. I just feel like the class is really good, but at the same time, I think a lot of these guys are day two.
I'll take that back. Omarion's been shooting up draft board. He probably will get drafted day one. Take that back.
Yeah, I think he'll be gone day one, but I think
the top 20. It feels as if you're at the point where are you taking the over or under on two running backs being taken in the first round? It seems like it's going to be over. Like it does feel like Omarion Hampton's going to go, and then maybe one of these other guys is going to sneak into the first round too. Whether it's Judkins or Caleb Johnson or Henderson, somebody's going to fall in love with somebody and take him in the first round. But we'll see. So the three guys that I left out, first two, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Again, quarterback is a different, kind of thing in and of itself because it's quarterback. I think that both of those guys have first round grades. Would I feel great about taking them top 5? No, not personally. That's just the way I see him. I think Cam Ward is a talented player. There are some aspects of his game that still really concern me. I think that the accuracy to the middle of the field is concerning. I don't think that he's necessarily a plus athlete, even though he can make guys, kind of shrug them off in the pocket. I think he does have a feel for the game, but the backpedaling is something that's concerned me. Shedeur Sanders, incredibly accurate, but he doesn't have a plus NFL arm. I think it's serviceable. I think it's good. But again, it's not great. Solid athlete, not a great one. And I think that he's going to have to learn to win with his mind, similar to how Bryce Young kind of did. And, obviously Shador is not at that small a stature. He's a little bit bigger than that, but still has some size concerns to go with him too. So both those guys have their flaws. I still think because it's a quarterback position, I think both of them are worthy to go in the first round, going top 5. I don't know about, because you're talking about top 5 guy, then I'm going to be drafting for a difference-making ceiling a la Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, guy going into that tier. Or in more recent drafts, a guy like Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, who I think had the potential to be that, or Caleb Williams, even just last year, or Drake May for that matter. But they don't have that ceiling to me. And so that's why I would say that they're not top 5, top 10 material. But of course, it's quarterback, so these guys got to get taken accordingly. And then the last guy, and this is probably going to be, a guy I stake a lot on. I have Trey Harris as my last first round grade. And I know that some people would be like, the production wasn't as high as possible. I just watch him. I see everything that is needed to be a true, XY receiver in this league. And a lot of people would be like, well, do the DK Metcalf, AJ Brown type thing. He's not DK Metcalf because you can run routes better than that. He's not AJ Brown because he's not that superb elite athlete necessarily. He reminds me a lot of Nico Collins. And we see what Nico Collins has obviously developed into, obviously, for the Texans. I like Nico a lot coming out of the draft. I think you just see that X potential, and I think that's so valuable and so scarce as far as the NFL is concerned nowadays. I do have Trey Harris as a first-round grade, and I don't expect either of you guys to have it as well. But that's the guy that I would say is probably the most unique one of my group as far as that's concerned. So any thoughts as far as – huh?
He's on the back end for me.
Yeah, I know you'll talk about him when we get to your wide receiver group, so I didn't spoil it, but that's my feeling as far as Trey. Any thoughts as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, though?
Well, no, I think you hit it on the head as far as the quarterbacks. Cam, to me, is a guy that I think that I see the flaws that everybody kind of talks about as well, but I also see a lot of potential there. I think that there's a lot more talent that you can unlock. And I think that's the reason why he'll probably end up going over Shador. I just think he's more talented quarterback than Shador is at this point in time. Shador, to me, I think he's a good processor of the field. Great mind, but the arm talent just kind of a little lackluster. Doesn't really pop off the screen like that or anything like that. But I think he's got I think if he falls into the right situation, he can really thrive in his first couple of years. But still a lot of questions are there on the board for Shador as well too. So I think that's one of the reasons why he'll probably end up going a little bit later and will probably be behind Cam. I think in a mock I had him mocked at 12. It was a while back. It was a couple months back before everybody said I was crazy. It was he's definitely going top 3, and now all of a sudden the tunes have changed now Saints might he's taking visits to the Steelers, and so yeah. But yeah, those are only 2 guys at quarterback that I have first round.
Yeah, those are only 2 first-round grades for me as well. Even though in reality Jackson Dart's going to get drafted in the first round. Is he a first-round grade by me? Absolutely not. But will he be taken on day 1? Absolutely yes. So there's an over-under on quarterbacks. On any app you can get over 2.5, take the over because Jackson Dart will be drafted first round.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. As far as the reviews of either quarterback, I think Cam is better off-platform as far as extension of plays, using athleticism, using his legs. Shador can do that as well too. Obviously not to the ability of Cam. Cam's a better athlete. As far as toughness and mental toughness, I do give Shador the higher grade in that regard because his offensive line was abysmal the last 2 years at Colorado. I think we all can agree with that part. Receiver talent was good and improved this year when they added guys like obviously Shepard and Jimmy and Jalen Wester over the last couple of years. But as far as the entirety of the group and as far as the quarterback play, Cam Ward is my QB1 also just because of the things he can do off platform in today's game. you have to be able to extend plays and use your legs, especially when you're playing in the AFC and you're guarding guys like Lamar, Josh Allen, and obviously Patrick Mahomes. So I think if the Titans are smart, they would take Cam Ward when you're trying to play in an AFC type of field right now. But I think Shador has definitely cemented himself as QB2, and hopefully for his sake, I hope he gets to go to a good organization, somewhere at least give him a chance to succeed. But based on what it is, he'll probably not be going to any organization with a rich tradition or any tradition of winning. So, but yeah, those are my top 2 quarterbacks for day one for sure.
We'll obviously talk about this on our Chiefs draft show, and if you guys do not know, we do have our playback room that'll be the main place where we're streaming, even though we'll stream it to YouTube as well. But do go over there and join our playback room, playback.tv/KingdomCast, and we'll be doing our draft stream as we did for the first and second days of the NFL draft coming up later on in April. But that'll be a type of conversation because I think that obviously there's a lot of volatility that happens. We saw the surprise Michael Penix pick last year, but I think that Shedeur Sanders is going to be the pivot point for a lot of these things of seeing where he ends up going and what ends up happening off of that. Obviously, you talk about Jackson Dart possibly going into the first round. We'll see. I don't see it personally. That old man.
I hope it don't happen, but
it seems like it might. But yeah, I mean, like you said, DG, obviously we've seen the range be from the Browns, which it sounds like maybe things are cooling as far as that's concerned, but there may be some conversation about the Browns taking Hunter and then grabbing Shedeur later on. Obviously, we've seen talk about the Giants. We've seen talk about the Jets at 7. We've seen talk about the Saints now, kind of, I think the Saints are 12 or are they in the top 10? I think they're at 12.
I think 12 or 9. I think.
Yeah,
they're 9.
Yeah, they're 9. Okay. Because Saints at 9, obviously getting further down the board. The Cowboys are at 12. I'm sorry. I had that mixed up. Going further in, obviously the next team would be the Steelers at 21. So it's going to be fascinating to see where he ends up going. It's going to be fascinating to see if a team tries to trade back in the first round for one of these quarterbacks, but I think certainly that covers it as far as the quarterbacks are concerned. Anybody I didn't mention that you guys want to mention as far as first round grade? Obviously, I said Shamar Stewart is what I meant to say. Wasn't personally going to make it my first round grade. Along those lines, I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that maybe consensus.
I have Matt Golden.
You do have Matthew Golden. Okay. Talk to me about Matthew Golden. CJ, save your thoughts until you talk about your wide receivers.
Yeah, I think based off his athletic testing alone and what he did at the combine, kind of solidified putting him into that category of being one of the first receivers taken off the board. Obviously, a guy that I feel like in Texas can do a little bit of everything, can give you a little bit of everything. I don't think he's a true, legitimate number 1 type of guy, but there's a lot of teams, especially in that like 12 to 18 range or whatever, that I think that they add him to their receiving group, that he can be a legitimate number 2, or at a point of where it's, a guy like T. Higgins of importance to the Bengals and what he is to them. So I think he'd be a nice fit to add into the group. The only thing I think that holds him back at this point is I just don't know if he can be the guy for you. If a team is willing to take a long shot on him and within that top 10, but I don't see him going top 10. So I kind of see him in the fit. I think the Cowboys could really be high on him, and adding him and CD together, I think, would give them a dynamic duo for the foreseeable future. So, yeah, I definitely could see Matthew Golden being he's definitely, to me, he's a guy that's going day 1 for sure. I don't think there's no doubt about it right now.
I personally didn't see that out of him. I thought certainly he could bring a lot of things to the table. I think it was a little bit more projecting than I felt a lot of comfortable with. The way they stepped up to Texas was certainly impressive in my opinion. So, yeah. I think that will covers it. There are a few other guys, kind of Donovan Zaraku from Boston College, who obviously he played against Mizzou, played very well. Nick Amawari, who out of South Carolina killed the combine. To me, it's a little bit more projection than I'm comfortable with, certainly at a safety position specifically. Sharon Ravel Jr. out of East Carolina, I think more of a day 2 player. Come back from injury, smaller school. I really like him even still. Tyler Booker, who I think isn't as dominant as a for interior line prospect. Same thing with Greg Zabel, even though he has the position versatility. Some people have said that he's Grant Barton. I don't think he's necessarily the level of prospect as Grant Barton as well. I think that very well covers kind of the other guys. So the last guy would be Jahdae Barron. So I'm concerned about Jahdae Barron being a consistent outside man corner and that type of mold, like a Travis Hunter or a Will Johnson. And Will Johnson's a little more because of the 2023 tape, but I'm willing to believe that a lot of that was injury for him last year. So even though I think that he could play a really high impact role as far as nickel is concerned, more so, I didn't get there all the way as far as Jahdae Barron, me personally, for putting him on as my first round grade list. But yeah, DG, CJ, anything else before we go ahead and get to CJ's position players? Nope, I think we're good. All right, CJ, lead us off with your linebackers, man.
Let's roll. Let me see. All right, as far as the linebackers, like we said, let me get my list here. Day 1, not that many guys here. Very short list. Who did I like here today? Yeah, I don't like him that much. Nope.
I told you, that linebacker class.
It's so with these, CJ, to be clear, this isn't the first round grade guys anymore. This is just your linebacker list.
Okay. I was about to say, bro,
this is just your linebacker list in general.
I'm about to say, boy, I ain't got nobody on here going first round. All right, as far as my off-ball linebackers, yeah. So my guys ranked definitely my number 1 would be Mr. Jahad Campbell, like we said, Alabama. He's my first linebacker, extremely explosive. I got his tackling machine. Definitely, he is a very aggressive tackler. He gets to the ball, heavy hitter. You can definitely tell he's kind of trying to carry that mantle of the previous Alabama linebacker we've seen in the past. A guy that can play outside, play inside if need be. I think he's a very versatile guy. I think he ran like a 4.5-ish at his day, I believe. So decent speed for a linebacker. I think he's about 6'3", 240 overall. So no, I think he's a solid guy for sure. I think he can come in and be a day 1 starter for any of the linebackers. My linebacker 2, I flip-flop up this one back and forth. I'm going to go with a little bit of bias here. Probably say Chris Paul Jr., just because the speed and athleticism is there. In today's game, we always, well, not at least not us in the chat, but more so our fans that follow us always complain about linebackers not being able to cover. There's a reason for that. DG said they are linebackers, not DBs. But as far as the linebackers in this class, the guys that do have some of the best cover skills, Chris Paul Jr. would be one of the top guys for me. Definitely a little bit on the lighter side. I think he only weighs like 230, and he's only 6'1" compared to the other guys, but extremely good in coverage, a guy that can make play on the ball, given the opportunity. A guy that's a very good tackling machine, an off-ball linebacker that you can put him at will and have him go out there and make plays. My linebacker 3 would be, I think I switched it up from the last time we spoke about this guy, so I'll probably put Carson. I'm going to butcher his last name. Schweschinger?
Schweschinger, yep.
Schweschinger. Boy, you sound German as hell. I would never say your name in real life. Schweschinger. German beer, whatever your name is. Not the most explosive guy, but extremely smart. If you want him to go in there and start and be a middle linebacker, this is a guy that can come in and do it. He may be a little bit of liability in coverage per se, but extremely smart, knows how to shoot the gaps, knows how to make plays on the ball if given the opportunity. So he would be my linebacker 3. And my linebacker 4 would be my personal favorite guy in this draft. I hope we do grab him. I hope the Chiefs are listening to this. Danny Stutzman, Captain America himself. DG hates him, but he know he a dog. This guy is a tackling machine. I don't think there's too many guys in the country that are better tacklers than him. Boomer Sooner, whatever they be doing for their signals for DG. No, this guy is he's out of all of our crushes as far as the draft, he's my draft day crush just because we've been needing that speed, that athleticism on our off-ball linebacker side since we lost Willie Gay. I think he could come in and be a seamless transition for that spot. A guy that could play off the ball. He could play Mike linebacker if need be. A tackling machine, like I've said the last couple episodes, 100-plus tackles the last couple of years. This guy was the captain of that defense, the leader. Venables said this defense is not the same without him, and you saw the way that defense played with him on and off the field the last couple of years. So definitely my favorite linebacker in this draft. And my 5th linebacker would be, who did I say last time? I said Kobe King out of Penn State. Another versatile guy, another guy that can play around. He's kind of that little bit of a tweener. He can play off ball or play like a little starish position. Kind of like the same thing we kind of did with Willie Gay when he first got here. Not necessarily means he has to play middle linebacker, because I don't think that's going to be his role. He'll be definitely an off-ball linebacker for me. But I think he's a guy that can play a little bit of both positions if need be. A very smart, very keen player. They put him in a lot of different positions at Penn State's defense. Granted, they were really good this year as far as not giving up explosive plays. He was one of the main keys for that defense for sure. So those are my top 5 linebackers for the draft in my personal rankings for sure. Yeah. And then I already did
any sleepers you want to point out as well as far as the day 3 is concerned?
I did have one guy. Let me see. Let me find him. Sleeper. Oh yes, my other guy. I think I said this earlier, our last episode. Jack Kaiser, very good sleeper. Mm-hmm. A guy that's very smart, senior, played a lot of big minutes for Marcus Freeman's defense. A guy that could wear the green dot as well. I'm kind of finding guys like in my list that are very versatile, guys that can play both spots as much as, especially in our defense. We don't want to see Nick Bolton go down, knock on wood, but in case that happens, you want to have guys that can step in right away, because we all know how our defense looked without him being on the field. It was very bad. So any of the guys that I would love to bring in, I would like to have that versatility. So him and Stutzman are probably 2 guys that I think that could come in and step in right away, that could wear the green dot if need be in that scenario for sure. And I think that is, let me triple check to make sure I'm not tripping. Yep, I think that's it as far as like sleeper guys that I like. Some other guys that are not really crazy names, but yeah, that's probably the main guys that I think that are my favorites in the draft for sure.
Mm-hmm. I will also say I do like Cody Simon's pass coverage ability at Ohio State. Is one thing that kind of jumped off as far as tape is concerned. Obviously, interior offensive lineman is a position that we hope the Chiefs are not going to be drafting. Certainly not within the top 100, but just in general. But give me some of the guys that really impressed you as far as this group is concerned for this draft.
Let me see. My top line, interior lineman. Well, the center ain't nobody really does high within this class. Let me see. I'll start off with the guards. Tyler Booker out of Alabama. Extremely dominant, very good run blocker. Reminds me a lot of Trey. I think they're very damn near similar size. 6'5", 330. A guy that can come in and probably start day 1 for you if you give him the opportunity. I think he could an aggressive run blocker, very good in that scenario. I think he'll probably best fit and obviously in a run first team. And my favorite guard in this class, where's he at? Where's Buddy at? Where is he at? He was on my list. I forgot his name. Not that guy. Well, he could play both. Where'd he go? Here he is, Connor Colby. This is my BB love draft compared to last year from K-State, guys. So this guy is a very, very explosive run blocker. If you saw the way Caleb Johnson ran football this year for Iowa, it was probably behind a lot of Connor Colby on this side. So a very dominant, very aggressive run blocker as far as playing guard. I think he played mainly right side for them when I saw a lot of their tape, but he could play either side if need be, given the way they run the football. I would not mind at all the Chiefs taking a swing on him on day 3 or day 2 of given availability. I know we did pay Trey, but if we had to take a guard, he would be one of my favorite guys I love in this class. I love everything about him. Played through injury. Played physicality, played in crazy snow weather, played in bad scenarios, bad field positions. He still figured a way to always clear lanes. Very strong-handed. Could use some work in his pass pro, like naturally most guards are coming out the draft. But he would be like one of my favorite guys. Him and along with Tyler Cooper out of Minnesota. Granted, another Big Ten guy. As far as like being run dominant blockers, I think that can come in and play right away. Another guard that I like in this class. Let me see. Willie Lampkin out of North Carolina. Obviously more of like a better pass setting guard as far as his promo and as far as his tape that I saw. Not the craziest best run blocker, but definitely a better pass pro and guard for this set right now, even though as a guard, you really don't want to be known for, I guess, being the best pass pro setter. But as far as in his scenario, he would be the better pass pro setter out of those guys for me. And then I'm trying to see if I can find a sleeper for you guys. I think DMac may like this guy. Where's his name? Let's see, Mr. Jackson Slater, Sacramento State. Another potential guy. I love the size. He's a little lean. He's 6'4". He's only like, I think he only weighs like 330, so he's a little slimmer. Need to gain some weight, but the athleticism is there. As far as we talk about in our offense, having guys that can pull and get out in open space, he's one of my favorite guys as far as guards, and he can play both sides as well. So he's one of my other favorite guards in this class too as well. That's a sleeper to keep a name out for. But outside of that, I'm not gonna waste my time with the centers because we're not grabbing any of those. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the guards for me. Not the craziest class, honestly.
Yeah, and obviously, guys, we expect. I think it sounds like Gray Zabel, I should say, somebody that's going to end up going in the first round. Donovan Jackson, obviously, get a lot of talk. He obviously played left tackle in service of Josh Simmons. Expect him to kick into guard ultimately at the next level. One guy we'll mention that I like a lot, Jonas Saviena out of Arizona. play tackle for them. He's more of a guard, in my opinion. I think he's going to serve somebody really well when he kicks inside in the NFL, too. He's going to be more of a day two guy, so not a Chiefs target. But I think he'll be able to step right in and play very well from day one. So, CJ, get to your position, man. Talk to me about the tight ends.
Yeah.
I need the in-depth list and then some sleepers as well.
Okay, so obviously we all know the first guys on the list are the ones we named earlier. I'll run those down again. Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland are the top two guys. Definitely surprised to see the Chiefs bring in Harold Fanning. That was a crazy view. Did not expect that at all as far as a upcoming visit for the Chiefs. But like I said, Tyler Warren, all three down tight end, all three phases you can ask him to do. Run, block, catch, does everything you can ask him to do. Colson Loveland is the prototypical tight end in today's NFL as far as running after catch, running the good routes, having good hands, sitting in windows. Everything you do athletically, you ask him to do. He's definitely the prototypical tight end for nowadays. My personal tight end as far as the list, and I hope he falls to us based on what we've seen, and I think a lot of fans are starting to pick up on him. Terrence Ferguson, he's probably out of the top two tight ends, first tier two. He's my favorite guy. I think we can come in and he could play day one right away. I would love to see him learn on Travis Kelce for a year, have him sit, him and Jared Wiley and Noah Gray could be our future tight end room. I would be ecstatic if that's the scenario we walked into. DG's guy, Gunnar Helm, very solid. He reminds me a lot of Cade Stover from Ohio State from a couple years ago. Not crazy fast, not crazy explosive. He just does everything very solid. Catches the ball well, catches the ball in traffic, blocks well if need be. But he has the prototypical size, 6'5", 250. Everything you're asking from a tight end that could come in and play right away, he could do that for you as well. Elijah Arroyo, I know DMac's not high on him, not the best blocker at all. But as far as run after catch, being explosive, he did a lot of good things for Miami in their passing game. Obviously, we are a pass-first team. And I think most of the tight ends that outside of Kelce, he's probably the one outside of like the norm. Most of the tight ends we usually draft are guys they prefer to be that can somewhat block, unless they're crazy explosive, given Jared Wiley and his explosiveness down the field. So given the fact we do have him and hopefully his knee is rehabbing correctly, I think any tight end we do bring into the room, they would rather have a guy either you're crazy explosive to help the passing game, or you're a guy that can do everything. Like I said, like a Gunnar Helm being pass pro, run blocking, and catching the ball as well. So Mason Taylor is just like a very solid tight end, does everything across the board. He reminds me a lot of Noah Gray. Doesn't really make a lot of mistakes. Very soft hands, catches everything that's almost thrown to him. I know DG wants him because of his family members that may be in the city. But I would love Mason Taylor in the Chiefs uniform for everything but his family. He's an amazing football player, consistent. You know, he comes from a professional background, given his father and everything. So I think he can come in and play right away. If we ask him to be tight end 1, tight end 2, I think he's not going to complain. Didn't really make him a lot of mistakes on film.
Great family genes.
Great family genes for sure. So I would love him on my tape as well. So those are my favorite guys. And as far as some sleeper tight ends, let me see. Let me find a guy DMac don't know about. Do I have anybody that I love on here?
For the record, I do like Elijah Arroyo. I just didn't necessarily.
DMac don't like him now.
Early second round. I know some people talked about that. He was more, late second round.
I don't know the injury history.
Yeah, that's a concern.
Yeah, he was out a couple seasons for sure. Mm-hmm.
The guy I will admit that I certainly am a lot lower on than other people is Harold Fanning Jr. So that's for sure.
2 other guys that I do like. One of them is extremely old, but I love his consistency. The first one is Caden Pierkshorn. I probably butchered his last name, out of Ole Miss. He makes a lot of big catches. He's a very clutch player. He's been extremely old. He's like 24 or 25. He's been in school a very long time. I think he got 2 kids already and a 401k. But it's kind of crazy. But he's a very, very accomplished player at Ole Miss, very explosive. I love the way that how Lane Kiffin used them in their offense. They use them like we use our tight ends, split out, whether it be on the line scrimmage or outside. He always made plays in the passing game. So I think he can come in right away and be a tight end or a tight end 2 or tight end 3, especially in the red zone. And another guy I want y'all to look out for is Bryson Nesbitt out of North Carolina. I love the size. I think he's like 6'5", 240. Very tall, very big catch radius. He's a project. It wouldn't be a guy that could play right away. You have to stash him and let him learn underneath the system. So he'd be a guy that would be one of my sleepers to look out for sure.
Yes. So the question I have, obviously we know both Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, guys that we agree, first round prospects. I think that Loveland really is more in that, true pass catching lead type of aspect. You talk about a Brock Bowers or Travis Kelce for that matter, of being able to be really actually lead a receiving room. And I think that's an interesting, skill set as far as that's concerned. And that's why Loveland personally is over Tyler Warren as far as my tight end rankings. Question I got for you guys, given what the room looks like right now, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley coming back from the ACL. Robert Tonyan also, as far as depth is concerned. Which way do you lean as far as more of the do-it-all tight end? Do you lean more so to the tight end that has that, really explosiveness, that receiving element, as far as, what you would want to add to this room?
I think you'd go probably more towards the receiving element of things, since you kind of already have some guys that are in your room that are versatile that can do both at this point in time. I think you kind of need that. I don't want to say replacing Travis Kelce, because obviously there's nobody in this world that can replace what 87 is done over the last, damn near decade.
The GOAT.
So, but I do believe that, it's always best to give your quarterback a guy for the future that, obviously caters to what he does best on the field. Mm-hmm. So, to me, it would matter if they went and got a guy that had, some really good elite, or some really good ball skills, as well as route running and things of that nature.
CJ, what about you?
Yeah, as far as adding a guy right now, it could go both ways. If they decided to add more of a pass catching guy, he's obviously not going to get as many catches or targets right now, obviously based off the fact we have Noah Gray and Jared Wiley, who's trending towards coming back right now. If the team truly does believe that Jared Wiley and Noah Gray can hold down the pass catching snaps, I wouldn't mind them taking a guy like Gunnar Helm, a guy that's more of like a blocking tight end, because you have two guys you believe that can handle the passing reps as far as the third down snaps, more importantly for this offense. So the selfish guy in me wants them to go get Terrence Ferguson just because he does everything explosively. So I would rather them get a pass-catching guy. But I think in all reality, I think they really do love Noah Gray and what he did for this offense. I think he took a next step last year when there was, especially those back-to-back games when he had 2 touchdowns. They show what he can do in the passing game. I think he takes another step this year. And so and it's all predicated on Jared Wiley's recovery. If they truly believe he's going to be the guy that we thought he was, then those are your pass-catching tight ends right there, and you can get a guy that's more of like a blocking tight end. So if they think Jared's healthy, go with the blocking tight end. If you think Jared's not progressing as much, then I'd go after a guy like Terrence Ferguson or Elijah Arroyo or Mason Taylor for sure.
I think that we certainly have the conversations as far as, what type they want to add to the room. And then also as far as, we'll talk about this kind of as we get further or closer, I should say, to the draft, about, tiering out how needy these positions are. Like we all kind of agree, running back, defensive tackle, those are positions where we say, yeah, you kind of need to add a guy to the room in this draft, regardless of where it ends up being, but that guy needs to be added to the draft. I think tight end, wide receiver is a little bit more of a pivot point where these rooms are ready to go into the, and play into the season, but it'll tell us something interesting. Obviously, knowing Travis Kelce is going to retire, we know Juju Smith-Schuster is only on a 1-year deal. Like, how do they feel that the real need for the room is going to be very fascinating to see, and what happens. So, obviously, once we get closer, we'll talk about that too. Transitioning from tight end to the other pass catching position out there, wide receivers. We can talk a little bit more about that. Obviously, we talked about Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, Matthew Golden. I want to know how you do order those guys specifically. And well, I guess the first thing, is anybody over Travis Hunter first for you? And then how you order those guys as far as, just how you feel about them. And then tell me a little bit more as you get into the day 2 players and day 3 players.
Luther Burden was my wide receiver 1 last year coming into the draft, coming into the season. So nothing's really changed for me. DMac was wide receiver 2 for me. So those are my top 2 guys. Obviously, Luther is try and make it very simple for like the old argument we had with AB versus Julio Jones type of argument. The small, shifty receiver versus the bigger body, big catch radius receiver. I'm always going with the shifty guy because it's easier for them to get open and make plays after the catch. So that's why Luther's always been my wide receiver 1. But T-Mac, he ran a very good 40. I didn't expect him to run that fast. So that kind of helped his stock boost up already. But a guy with a big catch radius that can make every play on the ball. After those 2 guys, wide receiver 3 for me is tough because I love Emeka, like DG stated earlier. But Matthew Golden's speed is undeniable. I can't look past the guy that he ran 4.29, right? Or 4.28? What was it? Yeah. So I can't look past that type of speed. And like D-Mac said, in the biggest moments he stepped up when it seemed like, no disrespect, DG, nobody wanted to get open and make a play for Quinn Ewers. That kid clearly took the reins of the receiver room and dominated the last 5-6 weeks of the season going to the college football playoff, and he showed it in the biggest moment. So he solidified himself as wide receiver 3 for me. Just getting an explosiveness on top of that is something you can't teach. You can't teach that type of speed. So Those will be my top 3 guys. After that, now we can start getting into the Travis Hunters of the world, the Emeka Bukas of the world.
Okay, so you have all 3 of those guys over Travis Hunter?
For sure.
Purely as a wide receiver.
Purely as a wide receiver. I love Travis Hunter as an athlete, but I think he's a better corner and receiver in my personal opinion. I think any team he does go to, I think that's where his higher impact and his more of the snaps will be. He will play receiver any team he goes just because of the infatuation of him playing both sides of the ball, and I'm sure he's going to tell his coach he wants to. But I think naturally, as the years go on, I think he'll start fading and leaning in more to the DB side just because that athleticism, that instinct, those reactions to when the ball's in the air, you can't teach that at DB. Especially when you're hopefully he goes to a team that plays more heavy zone. So he'll just react and be such a dynamic person. And you'll still be able to use them on third down for special packages. I'm sure they will. But those reaction, those instinct skills, you can't teach those things at DB because most DBs can't catch. So having a guy like that as a weapon, you put him on any defense, you're immediately going to add a turnover, possibly a game in your defense just because you're putting him in the area. When the ball's in the air, usually he goes up and gets it. So I would definitely be a fool to put him more of a receiver more than tight end or more of a DB in my opinion.
So purely though, and I asked it just because I'm interested. Purely as let's say he doesn't play corner, purely as a wide receiver, you still have those guys over him.
For sure, absolutely.
Okay, I love him. I think that if he was
he's explosive as hell.
He would be my far and away number 1. And I know the routes could be more refined from that standpoint, but he like you said, he has special ball skills, and I think that his feel for space is so exceptional, and I think it shows so often as far as the offense is concerned. It's tough for me to look away from. I think if he was just a wide receiver, he'd still be a top 5 guy, and he'd be my number 1. DG, how do you just quickly because we're here, how do you feel about Travis Hunter, and specifically as a wide receiver? Is that concerned? We'll talk about cornerback Travis Hunter next week.
Yeah, as a wideout, I could see him. I mean, realistically, I could see him playing both sides of the ball, or either side of the ball, and being successful at either one in this league. I think he's just got that type of talent, especially as far as playmaking ability. Just got a knack for making plays, man. And that's something you can't teach for real. But I do think that on the receiving side, there are some things that do need to be fine-tuned at this point. I think Steve Smith kind of said it best. When you get to the next level of this league, you have to be really honed in on working on one specific skill in your craft or whatever. And I think that for Travis, the route running to me at this point is a little bit more desired at this point, So I think that that's something that I think if he wanted to switch to that side of the ball, he would have to obviously get a lot better. And not saying that he's not, that he can't run routes or anything like that, but I just don't think he's as crisp of a route runner as people would probably like to see him be at this point in time. Little nuances that I think that he can pick up on as he goes on. But I also could see the impact of him on the defensive side of the ball as well too. And I kind of agree with CJ. I think that he probably is a better corner than he is a receiver. But I don't know. The longevity to me on the offensive side of the ball, I think is probably a little bit intriguing for him as far as his career path and things of that nature. So
the longevity and the money.
Yeah. Yeah, especially after seeing Jamar getting what he got.
I get why he want to play receiver.
He's
at 2 good positions. So.
Yeah, it's going to be very fascinating to see what career path he ends up taking. And again, we'll talk about the cornerback aspect of it. But I definitely agree with you guys. I think he's a better corner than he is a wide receiver. And I think you'll see it's easier for him to be a full-time corner and then have a package play as far as wide receiver. But and it's a hot take. And this is a guy that I absolutely loved. Back when I was watching football purely for fun and didn't have any pressure as far as the Chiefs winning anything. But he reminds me of Odell Beckham Jr. His after the catch ability, the explosiveness, the ability to be able to haul in contested catches. He is that amazing of an athlete to be as far as just purely the wide receiver position. Odell was a more refined route runner, certainly from that standpoint, but That kid is special on both sides, and we'll talk about him more as we go through this as well. So obviously we hit on as far as the first round guys, we're kind of concerned. CJ, talk us through a little bit more some of the second round guys that you really like, and specifically how they may fit with the Chiefs, and then we're going to talk about day 3 guys as well.
So as far as the guys that fit with the Chiefs, as far as the tier 2 receivers, like we said, I gave him a first round grade as well, but he would be like the top of the list for the tier 2 guys. It'd be Trey Harris. DMac explained it everything earlier. True X down the field. He attacks the ball at the highest point. A guy that can make plays. He could come in. It's ironic he said Nico Collins, because during college football season, the degenerate gambler I am, I bet on his longest reception all the time. Because that's all he did was catch 20-plus yard catches down the field. So he's a very explosive receiver. You put him in an offense, he can go in and play X immediately day 1. You ask him to run a post, a comeback, double move, he can go down there and make a play on the ball immediately. And we just don't have that many true X's in the NFL, like DMac said. So he's one of the few dying breeds we have left. So he can come in immediately and start day 1 and be a number 1 receiver for a team. And with the right quarterback, he'd probably get 1,000 yards as a rookie, which isn't saying much, but given the opportunity, I think he could do so. After him, let me see. We already said Emeka. We already said Travis. Who's my next favorite receiver on the board? I'm going to go. Is this a homer pick? No, it's not a homer pick. Jaden Higgins, Iowa State. Another guy that could truly play X, more so a Z. He could do a little bit of both, given the opportunity as well. Another guy. Hopefully the injury history lets him heal up and he can play healthy his rookie year. But another guy that could play X or play Z, I think he's more suited to play Z based off the teams he's probably projected to go to. He'll probably be a wide receiver 2 option based off where he goes. But good route runner, good hands, not crazy explosive, not the fastest guy ever on the world. But I think Trey Harris is more explosive down the field. But I think Jaden Higgins can be a big play receiver for somebody. Ironically, I've seen a lot of mocks seeing him go into the Chargers, which that's my last thing I want to see happen. But I think he's a guy that can come in and make plays for a team if given the opportunity. He'll have to earn his way up. He's not a day 1 starter by any means, but I think if given the opportunity, he can come in and play right away. I think, and personally, my selfish way, a team that I would think he would be flourishing in would probably be somewhere like the Jaguars. They need a wide receiver 2 right now. BTJ is their 1. They just lost Christian Kirk. I don't have any faith in Gabe Davis at all, in my personal opinion. So I think he can come in and probably no shots fired. But I think he can come in and step in right away and try to earn a wide receiver 2 or 3 spot down there. After those guys, what's
Hey, CJ, what's the name of the podcast?
Which one?
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Oh shit, I don't like him, bro.
It's all we can do, dog.
I know, but I don't like him, bro. I mean, Gabe is cool. I mean, he reminds me of Mac Hollins. It's just weird, but make big plays when they need him to, but not consistent enough. But overall, yes, he can be on a roster. Trying to think of some other guys that I like. Day 2. Let me look at my list.
I'm not as big of a Jaden Higgins fan. I think he's the height weight thing again. It's more of a projection for me than necessarily proof.
For sure.
So I think that's a big piece of it. But obviously, you named Trey Harris a little bit more of my guy. I did have a hot take that I like Jalen Noel more than Jaden Higgins, and I know people would be like, "Well, he's 5'10". You just talk about the route running, the consistent hands, and he also is a really good athlete. And I know obviously he's not necessarily going to be a target for the Chiefs because he's not maybe the body type that people would see that's going to fit, but also the Chiefs don't seem interested in that body type either. So maybe it's a possibility, but if you talk about day 2 wide receivers, or specifically even second round wide receivers, like for me, Trey Harris and Jalen Noel are kind of the 2 guys that kind of in that list as far as that's concerned. But you get into the third round, there are more guys that I like. CJ, you can continue on with your list as you see fit though.
No, you said the next 2 guys on my list, Jalen Noel and obviously Jalen Noel, Jayylin, and Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Both very similar players. I'm obviously talking with Noel, obviously a KC kid, so I'm going to be a homer with him first. I love everything about him, his story, where he came from, the way he plays. He would fit our offense to a T. Granted, we already have receivers that do what he does at an extremely high level. But I'm like you. I like him better than Jaden Higgins, but just based off the fact I can't deny Jaden Higgins' size being 6'4", 215. It's just hard to look past that. But as far as purely being a receiver, Jalen Noel does everything you want a kid to do. Playing the slot, run good routes. He can do returns as well. Catches the ball. He's tough as nails. Can catch the ball over the middle of the field. Good run after catch. The only knock on him is that he's 5'10". And some reps are going to say he's 5'11" based off the website you look at him, but he's probably legitimately like 5'10" without cleats on. So, but it's tough as nail. One of the toughest kids you'll see in the room. He can make every play on the ball if given the opportunity. He'll be a slot machine for sure anywhere he goes. A guy that'll be a jet sweep, big play player for any offense you decide to put him into. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm definitely going to follow him. But he's definitely I like him personally over Jaden Higgins, like DMac said too. But I have to put Jaden just because of the size factor. You can't really replace that. And then after him, Jalen Royal is a very similar type of player. Extremely, extremely, extremely good route runner. One of my favorite route runners in this draft. Him and Torrey Horton are probably my bottom of my tier 2, tier 3 guys that I would be okay with if we're taking on day 2, day 3. Either one of those guys I would love for sure. A sleeper. DG knows this guy. He made a lot of big plays, ironically, versus Texas before they went to the SEC. Jake Beck. This is like Justin Watson's little brother. It's ironic because I'm not making fun of him just because he's white, but he makes a lot of big plays with the ball. I don't get it. I don't know why, but when they needed to make a play on the ball, they threw it to him. He's not crazy fast, not crazy explosive, but if you need like a consistent receiver that's going to get open, I'm not trying to be mean, but he reminds me of Adam Thielen. He's not crazy fast, not crazy explosive. He's in the right spot at the right time.
We need some cross race comparisons, CJ.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be mean, but he's very solid. He's very solid.
No, he absolutely is. That is the way to describe him as a player. He is, in my opinion, he is a Emeka Egbuka with less juice as far as these prospects are concerned.
Exactly.
But again, he's a guy that you feel like is going to be able to maybe play a little bit of that power slot role. And just to also have some outside versatility and just consistently get open and be solid as far as his hands are concerned. I do like Jake Besh. I don't think necessarily he fits. Yeah, that he necessarily fits what the Chiefs are going to be looking for. But I like you said, I do like him kind of in that tier 3 wide receivers. I really like Jalen Royals and Tony Horton as well. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let's keep going.
Oh, you're good. Tony Horton is another guy that I like. I'm trying to think of some other guys that are possible. Juice Wells. Not a terrible option. Antoine is his real name, but he'd be not a bad option. Let me see, who else do I like on here? Obviously, all the Colorado guys. We've said this: Jimmy Horn, LaJohntay Wester. Either one of those guys, as far as UDFA's or day 3 guys, I would be very okay with being in this receiver room. I'm trying to think of some other guys we haven't said before. Theo Wees, Mizzou guy. Obviously, MIZ would be another guy I'd be very okay with. There's that Arkansas receiver. Where's his name? I saw this Armstrong, yes. Another guy, him and
big guy.
Yeah, the big
a lot of size.
Him and Isaac Tesla. I know they were both that tall. I thought that one of them was shorter than the other. They're both big. So
they recruited some big wide receivers out there at Arkansas.
Their quarterback play wasn't that good. So that's probably why we didn't talk about them that much this year. But
no,
they're both very tested very well. So, but no, as far as the day 3 guys, LaJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn out of Colorado, both professional route runners. I know Shador gets all the credit in the limelight in Colorado, and Travis Hunter, rightfully so. Either one of those guys I think could come in and step in and be a wide receiver 3 for any football team. I'll be very, very happy if we brought in either one of those guys to camp for sure.
All right. DG, any wide receivers you'd like to mention? I know you're extremely fond of Isaiah Bond. Anybody you want to mention as far as wide receivers are concerned, DG?
Nah, I think CJ hit it on the head, man. Spot on.
All right. One guy that obviously wasn't mentioned was Alec Iremore, I believe, out of Stanford, who's, in my opinion, he's gotten a lot of conversation. Again, size is there, big catch radius. I'm not sure.
He had a really good combine too, didn't he?
He did have a good combine for sure. He's a really good athlete. I don't necessarily see him as a top 100 player. For me, he would be outside of it. But he's obviously got a lot of talk and certainly has a great PFF grade. So I see him going in all these mock drafts too. That's it as far as the wide receiver group is concerned. CJ hit it as far as kind of the day 2 and day 3 options. So I did want to show the results as far as the Chiefs Twitter mock draft was concerned. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Just so you guys could show, and we'll be continuing to do these polls, so do be on the lookout. And we're gonna continue to kind of run them throughout because I think it's a little bit interesting to have that look at it too. All right, so let's put it on the screen. So this one started out with a trade up of sorts. The Chiefs ended up trading with the Rams for pick 26, and so they traded. What was it? I'm gonna look it up just because I just had it. Oh, hey, Chiefs concerns. They traded up 31, 133 and a 7th-round pick for 26 and 147, I believe, was ultimately the trade. And so we kind of went through. Oh no, sorry, 31 and 95, and a 7th-round pick for 26 and 127. There it is. That's what I was looking for. So with that first trade up, they ended up taking Josh Simmons, left tackle. You guys then voted for them to take his Ohio State teammate Quinshon Judkins at the running back position. Then with the 3rd-round pick at pick 66, they Texas A&M defensive lineman Shamar Turner, who I think is a little bit underrated as far as that's concerned, and then finished up the draft with Mello Dotson, the Kansas cornerback. And so we're going to continue to do this as we get closer to the draft. We're going to have these mock draft polls for each week that you guys can kind of give your input on, and as an idea for how you guys kind of want the draft is concerned. But, you know, if they trade up for Josh Simmons, it's going to be a question mark as far as the medicals. But the player I certainly like, Quinshon Judkins, Shamar Turner, and Mello Dotson, I like all 3 of those guys, even though me personally, I would have taken Noah Williams. But I know KU is going to have some type of bias included as well. So to end off the show, we are going to – I'm going to give the reins to CJ, not, you know, as far as the actual, control is concerned, but I'm going to let CJ go ahead and run himself a mock draft and make the picks.
Oh, yeah.
DG and I will comment on what he decides to end up going with.
You finna take all KU players.
Psych.
Tyler Shaw, number 1. 30.
So the Draft Network has its draft simulator up and rolling, and I did one mock draft on it just to make sure it worked. But I always like to just move around on different draft ones so we can take a look at it. But CJ, this is what the board currently looks like. I think that you know, one of your guys is right at the top of the list if you so choose to go that way. And you can tell me if you want to go to a specific position to look at, or just want to draft off of this collection of players.
As selfish as I would like to be, fellas, Colson Loveland would never flash.
This is all you, man. If you want to take him,
this will be amazing. Now, I'm gonna keep it realistic. Right here, go to the defensive tackles, please. Sure. Me and DG been practicing, so we know how this goes. Right here. Yeah, most of the guys that we liked are still on the board. So right here, I mean, if Kenneth Grant ever fell this far, I think I have to take him. So he'd be my first pick.
Okay. I personally, I do have Derek Hartman over Kenneth Grant.
I know those are the top. Only guy I had over him was Kenneth Grant, but I'll be very fine if Derek Hartman was the one too. Either one.
But Kenneth Grant is somebody who brings a whole lot of power to the table. Is elite versus the run. Not as much pass rush upside as I would like, but still can create some havoc as far as pass rush is concerned. And so from day one, that's the guy you put next to Chris Jones as far as the starting, 3-tech next to him. You don't have to worry about that. Certainly versus the run as far as that's concerned.
For sure.
This doesn't make any sense, so we're going to ignore that for a second time. I don't know why Colson Loveland is getting picked.
Exactly. Let me see the running back list.
Sure.
DG's favorite players. Cam Scatterboo. Yeah, all the guys that I wanted are gone. That sucks. Let me see the. Let me see the tight ends list again. He's still there. Edges, please. Yes, not looking overwhelming. Receivers. Again, one more time. Okay. Dang. All the guys I like are gone. Yeah, okay. I'll take a running back. Good. Go and get it out the way. Give me Dylan Sampson.
Okay. Out of Tennessee, dynamic player for sure.
Long speed back.
I didn't check. The tackles have been pretty well picked over. Charles Grant, I think, would be a.
He's on my list. I was waiting to stash him. If we can stash him, I would love it. If he's there next one, I'll probably grab him. Mm-hmm. I think I pretty much.
That's how you want to run it back. Dylan Sampson. I think Darren Porter also was there. Let me double check this. Who went at the end of that? Oh, that's something right there. Look at that one.
BTA in Oklahoma City right now.
Man, bump them niggas.
Well, did you see what happened to allow that to happen?
Nigga threw out Luke. Bump.
Did you see how Luka got ejected though?
On some buzz.
No, I didn't catch that part.
Believe me, it's hilarious, dog. It is very funny. I was trying to see who got taken in between there as far as the corners were concerned. But Darian Porter is still on this list, a guy that I think makes a lot of sense for this team too. But he is maybe a little bit more of a zone guy than Dave Merritt would like. So as far as this first third round pick is concerned, CG, where you want to go? I'll show you the all positions. I don't understand why Coastal Loveland is not being picked, but he is still not being picked. We're going to continue to ignore it. I don't get it, but keep going.
Let me see here. Dang, he's not going to be here at the turn. I know he's not going to be here.
Projection. Yeah, day one. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why. That's gotta be a flaw.
Yeah, that's something right there. All right.
Let me see. Show me the offensive tackles again. Is Mr. Grant still there?
You believe he is? Yep, Charles Grant's still there.
Dang, I want to take Fergie. I really want to take Fergie. What's our next? What? This is our 95th pick.
This is 66, so we still have
66. We say 95. Will he still be there? Man, fuck it. Give me Fergie. I think Grant will still be there.
Okay.
Please.
Chiefs are making some offensive line heavy investments here and taking Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon, explosive tight end, to pair with Dylan Sampson. See Kenny Grant going the first round. I don't know what is happening. Why is it might be a glitch? Maybe that's what it is.
There he is.
This went okay. All right, not a glitch. Offensive tackle.
Hey, there he is. Mr. Grant, you're a Chief. Let's go, buddy.
There you go. Charles Grant is in fact a Chief. But yeah, Charles Grant at 95 makes a lot of sense as far as I'm concerned. So I'd be happy to bring him in. Going on the board to 133. All right. Let me show you all of the current players. Billy Boyd Jr., obviously. Safety at Oklahoma. RJ Harvin, DJ Giddens, both still there. We took running back already, Damian Martinez. I know people would be like, it feels like top 100 has to be a running back pick. I think if you miss out on
the guy you want, for sure.
The guy you want, and in my opinion, for me, it is just Judkins and Henderson as far as 63 or 66 are concerned.
Me too.
If you miss out on those two guys at 63, 66, I'm cool with waiting till 95 or even 133 to get this, what I feel like this group of players will include RJ Harvey, DJ Giddens, Damian Martinez, and Brashard Smith, a little bit more of a 133 player, but specifically those three guys as you get into the 95 or later picks.
I agree. I think in most mocks, Dylan Sampson wouldn't have been there that early, but if he is, then yeah, he's right after those guys for sure for me. But I would be very fine with any of the guys like DJ, RJ, as far as like later on at 133 here. Go to the corners. Let's see who's available.
I just seen it now.
Anybody you like, DG, that you on this list?
Were we picking it? What round is it?
It was 133, the fourth round.
Oh, fourth. Oh my.
Mello still there.
My Mello.
Kobe's gone.
Scroll down some. Mello. Oh, sheesh. Shit. It's probably Mello Dotson for me at this point. Is Denzel Burke still available? Is he gone?
Yeah, I believe he is gone. I don't think he's considered a safety, so I'm pretty sure he's gone. Yeah, he's gone.
So yeah, it's Mello Dotson. I wouldn't mind. What do the safeties look like too? So I wouldn't mind Mickens here either, or Malachi Moore as well. I think he could kind of take over that role for Mike Edwards when you're ready to move on from him next year. It's kind of that free range ball, you know, playmaking safety.
All right, CJ, it's on you, man. Where you want to go?
Well, linebackers.
You got Barrett Carter, Cody Simon, Chris Paul Jr.
Chris Paul Jr. would be nice for you.
Jack Kaiser.
Yeah, I think I may lean CP right here. Yeah, give me CP Jr.
And again, of no relation, but is a good draft pick. As far as
if he gets sponsored by Jordan, that's nobody but God.
And so we'll roll on. This will obviously go until the Chiefs pick with their 3 7th-round picks. This is a good time since we're just waiting for it to go. Do you guys feel like the Chiefs are going to end up making 8 picks? For me personally, I don't necessarily see it because I think that they don't necessarily have the roster spots for it. So
exactly, that's a lot of players.
yeah, if you can use them as a sweetener just to move up in the draft somewhere here, I think it makes a lot of sense. And again, I talked about this kind of some of my mock drafts as far as splitting 63 and 66, 63 to move up in the draft into the 50s or even into the 40s. And then 66 moving a little bit later on if you want to go ahead and target players that way and then maybe use the 7th to get that deal over the line. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think they can condense that down. And then also, as always, you don't have to take players in this draft. You can always, take advantage of a market inefficiency and get players in future drafts. And so if you can get a 2026 pick, that's on day 2. Awesome. Take it. If you get an extra 5th or 4th, as far as 2026 is concerned, then go ahead and do it. I think that makes a lot of sense too. CJ, where you want to go as far as these positions are concerned? Go back to the DB room, I assume.
Please. Who's the long shot DG in this group?
We do have one of these guys, Melvin Smith from Southern Arkansas, that was brought in for a top 30 top 30 visit. There it is. Longer beam?
Go to safeties real quick too again.
Sure. Jamar Simmons, a guy that I like out of Arizona State, the way he plays. Still not an NFL player.
Shots fired.
I feel bad for continuing to point that out throughout the entirety of draft season, simply because he's he's one of the few guys that is known down here. But
yeah, I would probably say it's Melvin Smith for me, as far as just the nature of them meeting with him.
And again, Melvin Smith, I will say Melvin Smith, 6'3", fast, athlete. He is the type of guy that, obviously the Chiefs would want to bring in as a small school guy. Go ahead, CG. I'm sorry.
No, for sure. I was about to say anybody that fits the prototype for DBs that Coach Merritt, even more so Coach Spags, he fits the prototypical bill as far as a big corner, especially if we lose one of the guys, either Jalen or Josh, to the free agency, given the fact that their contracts are coming up. So I'd be very fine with Melvin for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think obviously we haven't taken a wide receiver at this point. You want to look maybe at that list and see if there's any of these day 3 guys that you really like.
For sure.
Oh, that was almost bad. There we go. Jimmy Horn Jr., Will Shepard, Brew McCoy out of Tennessee.
Andrew Armstrong is there.
Andrew Armstrong from Arkansas. We talked about Theo as far as what he brings to the table. Theo, a little bit more of a versatile wide
Dominic
receiver.
Lovett, you are not an NFL receiver, son. I don't know why you on this list.
You thought he was nice. He went to Georgia and then was forgotten about.
Can't catch the ball. Yeah, this is a Jimmy spot for me. I would love to bring Jimmy into this room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Professional route runner. Kid's tough as nails. Love his story.
I like it. I think that he's a little bit underrated as far as that's concerned. Go ahead, DJ.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I think he would love it here. Just being able to come in and learn from that room or whatever. I think he'd bring a lot of impact, and he'd probably take Sky Moore's job.
For sure.
Sky Moore has a job. So we want to go here. You want to double up on wide receiver? You want to look maybe at running back? I think we're good as far as tight end, probably offensive line. You're not going to find much as far as edge is concerned. And that's your Stackhouse, a guy, defensive line that can make sense. Also, at Pegas, I was watching some of the old Miss tape. I didn't mind him either. Hutchemeyer had gotten hurt in Nebraska. Could be a possibility. Is my guy on here? My guy is not on here. Elijah Williams at the Morgan State is not on here. We did linebacker. We obviously had the DB. Is anybody for safety? Shamar Simmons still here. Anybody catch your eye, CJ, as far as who you want to go?
Another possible guy. Give me Rockets Fenders. We've been talking about him all season.
Okay.
Very powerful back, and if we happen to lose Pop or Kareem, you know the power back that can step in right after, he could be that guy for sure.
All right. This will be your CJ-led Chiefs mock draft. Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman out of Michigan. Dylan Sampson, running back out of Tennessee. Terrence Ferguson, tight end out of Oregon, one of CJ's favorites. Charles Grant out of William & Mary, one of my favorite tackles. Chris Paul Jr., linebacker out of Ole Miss, one of CJ's favorites. Melvin Smith Jr., cornerback out of Southern Arkansas, and Jimmy Horn Jr., wide receiver out of Colorado, also one of CJ's favorites. One more thing. DG, how you feel about that draft class?
Well, we're good with it. Not thrilled about Sampson, but I guess a lot of juniors for sure.
Juniors everywhere.
I like it though. Kenneth Grant, obviously bringing in that impact for the interior. Terrence Ferguson, who's obviously been one of CJ's favorite guys. Vertical threat, receiving threat. Loved having Charles Grant as far as depth, being able to develop him. Chris Paul Jr., I think is a day one kind of guy you could start as far as off ball and coverage and things of that nature. And then I think the last two guys, Melvin Smith Jr. and Jimmy Horn Jr., I think would love to see what they got in camp, man, and see if they can take somebody on this team's job.
CJ, how you feeling about your draft class?
Overall, solid. I think we got all the positions of need and want as far as the Chiefs needed this year. Definitely added another D tackle, a young guy that can carry the mantle whenever Chris Jones needs that help next to him. Because knows we got somebody that's going to obviously be a two-gapper if need be, but it's somebody that's good against the run that can allow our pass rushers to be who they are, like Charles, Chris, George. Knowing somebody got somebody that can stop the run and obviously have a little bit of juice in the pass rush game is good for them. Dylan Sampson, I think he's very explosive. He knows how to hit his head on the end zone, knows how to get into the paint as well when you need to score. A guy that can obviously catch the ball and run between the tackles very well. Probably could find more value and probably maybe let it go or later. I think in reality, this would probably be like a Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins spot for me. But I wouldn't mind Sampson at all if he's there. I think he's right there on that tier as far as those guys as well. Or Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. After him, Fergie, I love him, everything about him. But they can come in and start for us day one if need be. Charles Grant, I love stashing him. If we decide to put him at right side, if we decide to move on from Juwan or come in next year to give him the fact maybe, I love that as a stash for us. Chris Paul Jr., I love the coverage ability. He can come in and play off-ball linebacker next to Willie, next to replacing Willie and play next to Drew or play next to Nick. So I love his ability. I think he would love it here in this room. I think this team is at its best when we had our 4 linebacker rotation like we had 2 years ago. So I would love to bring that back. And then Melvin is a sleeper. I know the size and long arm is there for DG's guy on his list. And Jimmy Horn, I love everything about his professionalism, a route runner, tough kid, great hands, catches the ball through contact, knows how to get open, knows how to score the ball as well if given the opportunity. So I would love him as a stash for a receiver, especially if you move on from guys like Hollywood and having a receiver always in the range and try to have a guy ready, especially when these guys are getting, like we said earlier, $40 million. The cheaper you can stay a receiver, the better. It's going to help you build and fill out your roster, especially when it comes to paying guys for sure. Right. Overall, I'll give this draft like a B-.
All right. I think that's probably a fair grade. I would have rated maybe a little bit different, obviously, as far as defensive line was concerned. Like you said, Dillon necessarily isn't the running back I would want there, but I certainly understand the pick. I think that Charles Grant Jr., honestly, I think Ferguson, Grant, and Chris Paul Jr. are all really good picks, and Jimmy Horn Jr. makes a lot of sense to add to this room too. And obviously, the Chiefs have some interest as far as Melvin Smith Jr. is concerned, so I definitely get it. There's one little bit of news that I did want to end off on before, and I have to actually find it first, which will take me a second. And next week we'll obviously be having DG go through his positional rankings. He'll be talking about cornerback, safety, as well as it just jumped out of my head, and edge as well. And we'll be interested to talk about from those perspectives. Those are pretty big positions too. We'll be having another fan mock draft to kind of go over. DG will also end off the show doing his own mock draft, and then also we'll be talking about kind of looking back at some past Brett Veach draft classes, giving them maybe a little bit of grades, breaking them down, and seeing how it's kind of influenced the team building aspect of it as we move along as well. Do be on the lookout as far as Kingdom Cast is concerned. We'll be posting a little bit of countdown content as far as some Chiefs draft fits, and then also we'll be doing our draft kind of prediction game that we did last year. I think who ended up? I think Chuck ended up winning it. As he hit on Kingsley. I can't remember exactly, but I think Chuck ended up winning the contest last year. Give me 2 seconds. I hope this is coming up. Yeah. So it's not necessarily news, but it's maybe a lack of news. One thing we've seen Rashee Rice post on Instagram that obviously he is healthy and cleared to cut and run routes, which is a great sign for his recovery as far as that's concerned. But on the other side, Drew Davenport, who works within the fantasy football community, who's also a practicing lawyer, kind of talked a little bit about the lack of movement on his case, the fact that Rashee Rice has not been indicted to this point. And according to his own, kind of feelings as far as the case was concerned and how long it's taking, that it may be one of those situations in which Rashee Rice may not end up being suspended for the 2025 season because the due process may end up having to play out before the NFL ends up, moving as far as what they end up doing. And again, he hasn't even been indicted yet or brought up in charges. So that's just a little bit of nugget as we go closer to draft season. Obviously, a lot of consideration for what the wide receiver room is looking like, of what Rashee Rice is going to have a big piece in. And obviously, as we get further into the summer, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But just wanted to end off as far as that's concerned. Anything else before we go ahead and get out of it? Go ahead and get on out of here, guys.
Let's go Royals. Let's go
Joe
Royals.
Yes, sir.
3 in a row, baby. Talk nice.
Sir.
Yeah.
We beat up on Paul Skeens today. Yes, sir. Love
As you should. They can't hit right now. So
Livy Dunn is somewhere crying.
Oh yeah, y'all had Sonny on the mound.
No, Victor Scott took Livy Dunn. That's how that works.
How many Ks did Sonny in with? Like 7, 8?
He had, I think it was only 4 because they pulled him with like 71 pitches. So
okay.
he got out of there early. The Nets won, but it doesn't matter because we're not taking anymore. We're locked in.
You won the
4
lottery.
Ks. That's what you God, I'm praying Adam Silver decides to rig it, man. That's all.
Laker fans are going to tell you Luka got kicked out.
He did on some bullshit.
What they're not going to tell you is that Shea had 42.
That boy Luka was trying to talk to the fan, and the ref took it personal.
The ref got sensitive, bro. Let him
He
talk.
said, "I'm talking to him. I'm talking to him."
What you say fuck me for?
You're done, Bucko.
Oh,
you're out of here.
You honky country fans in Oklahoma want to talk your shit, and then when a Russian man, Slovenian, want to say something back, you get all sensitive because he want to talk back. Y'all
that is one of the funniest ejections you will ever see in your life.
Don't talk to fans like that. They're in Oklahoma. I don't care.
We also don't know what's going on with the different nuggets, but that's about basketball. We got to go ahead and get on out.
Mike Malone.
This ain't the crypto center.
Well, come to the crypto. Talk that. Then.
Shout out to Mike Malone, Seton Hall Prep Zone, championship winning coach. He will have a job very quickly. I promise you that. So yeah. All that being said, like I said, Brett Veach draft class evaluation next week. We'll obviously talk about DGs, cornerbacks, safeties and edges that he likes within this draft. And then we'll have some more mock draft action, man. We are almost 2 weeks away, or essentially 2 weeks away from the 2025 NFL draft. Looking forward to it. Meantime, obviously check out Kingdom Cast on Thursday nights. Make sure you guys check out the playback room, playback.tv/Kingdom Cast, as we get ready to build that up as well. But yeah, appreciate you guys for coming by. Nothing else to say, man. For Tell the Truth. Peace out. Go Chiefs.
Chiefs.